it was the 1980s, and the amount of missing and deceased children surrounding Fredbear's Family Diner and Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was becoming a real problem for the brand. Searching for a solution, upper management, whoever they were, came up with a brilliant plan. When they reopened the restaurant, it would be with a new selection of animatronics who were built with state-of-the-art facial recognition technology, who would be able to detect and track criminals as soon as they walked in the door. They were also made with plastic-like exteriors that would appear easier to clean and maintain, with softer, rounder builds that were less likely to scare children. By all accounts, the toy animatronics were a major improvement to the brand and characters. And yet somehow the new and improved safety-conscious Freddy's was shut down just as quickly as the others, maybe even quicker. So what happened? How could the toy animatronics fail so spectacularly? Or were they not the reason for the failure? To uncover this, we must go through the tragic tale of the toy terrors themselves, the toy animatronics. For starters, we must briefly address the animatronics whom the toys replaced, referred to now as the Withereds. The Withered animatronics were the original Freddy, Chica, Bonnie, and Foxy from the establishment before it closed down and the renovations took place. They were actually earlier models of the classics from Fnaf 1 who we are so familiar with. After children went missing and other various incidents that ruined Freddy's reputation, the band was retired to the back room where they were scrapped for parts that were then used for the toy animatronics. Ergo, their withered appearance and moniker. It's sort of been kept vague whether the toys are truly haunted or not. One of them absolutely is. One of them acts like a little devil, and the others are aggressive, but in the case of Fnaf 2, it isn't stated if this is due to facial recognition software malfunctioning, of us actually playing as a criminal, which, considering Freddy's history of not asking questions, this probably is an easily available job for a reformed criminal, or if they were haunted. Though if they were, it is possible that they became haunted through the parts that were taken out of the Withereds and placed into them. Regardless, the toy animatronics hunt the night guard and act strangely around the day staff. Once midnight rolls around, they roam down the halls and have to be warded off by a Freddy mask, which tricks their facial recognition. It works, for most of them. But now let's get into the toy animatronics themselves. There are 6 of them to cover. Well, technically 7. A quick note, but I will sort of be glossing over gameplay elements for the most part. This is more a look at the band, specifically their appearance in Fnaf 2 and following games, but many of these characters I made super detailed videos on. If there's anyone you want to know more about, I probably have a whole rigmarole on it. Toy Freddy, Toy Bonnie, and Toy Chica are the headliners on the main stage. Toy Freddy is the newest version of Freddy Fazbear. With rounder features and chubbier cheeks, he is intended to look friendly and approachable, but as a result, he sort of falls into the shadows of his flashier bandmates.
You can trust me. I'm friends with everyone.
Toy Freddy is a chubby brown animatronic bear with red cheeks, black freckles, and a square dummy-like mouth. He wears a black and red top hat, a black bow tie, and has 2 buttons on his chest. He carries around a microphone. In Fnaf 2, Toy Freddy jauntily bumbles down the hallway into the office, and you have to drive him off by tricking him with the mask. Simple enough. In Ultimate Custom Night, however, Toy Freddy goes through a sudden personality change. Well, actually, he didn't have any personality in Fnaf 2, but now he becomes a salty gamer who requests for you to beat the game for him, and will go after you if you fail. This is also where he gets his voice.
That's what you get for leaving me hanging. That game was totally rigged.
In Fnaf Special Delivery, also known as Fnaf AR, Toy Freddy softens back up, becoming a goofy, gentle, and much more marketable version of Freddy. Unlike many of the other characters, his lines don't seem as overtly aggressive, and one of them even seems to be concerned for the player.
Is there someone here who needs some extra special cheering up? Would you like to hear one of my copyrighted jingles? Hello? Hello? Oh, why won't you say something?
Giving him a much more gentle approach. Toy Freddy is a very interesting case in this regard. He basically had no personality, then he had a joke personality, then it kinda pulled back on the joke. It can be a little jarring, but it definitely makes him stand out. though Toy Freddy's biggest contribution has been as a joke, or a meme character. With Ultimate Custom Night's portrayal and him having a major role in various parody fan games, Toy Freddy has gotten a bit of a reputation. But considering what I said earlier, him being somewhat forgotten during FNAF 2, this is actually a step in the right direction, and is part of the reason he is now so beloved. Next is Toy Bonnie. This brand new Bonnie is the shiniest thing on stage since the last animatronic Greasefire. With big doll eyes and a cherry red guitar, Toy Bonnie is ready to soak up the spotlight, but may pale in comparison to his more popular withered counterpart.
Aren't I just the shiniest?
Toy Bonnie is a bright blue with pale blue accents, with rosy red cheeks, black freckles, and big old green eyes with purple eyelids and thick lashes. He wears a red bow tie and is shown with a matching guitar. Toy Bonnie saunters down the hallway, moves into a party room, crawls through a vent, and comes into the office where you must ward him off with a mask. Noticeably, as he enters the office, his eyes widen and his pupils shrink, making him look a little more unnerving. This might be part of his facial recognition technology, but this is the only animatronic who does this. Like Toy Freddy, Toy Bonnie didn't have a blatant personality in FNAF 2, but unlike Toy Freddy, was popular enough to receive plenty of fan interpretations, and also plenty of debate on whether he was a boy or a girl. It wasn't until FNAF Special Delivery when Toy Bonnie got a voice for himself, and a personality.
Clear the stage, for the star of our show is now here. It's not my fault I'm so much more famous than you.
This chipmunk-like voice is an acquired taste, as is his shallow comments on stardom. Toy Bonnie comes off as someone overcompensating for the limelight he is denied, which plays into real life as well, as Toy Bonnie found himself less popular than his broken, faceless counterpart, Withered Bonnie, as I brushed on earlier. Sometimes, headcanons even portrayed Toy Bonnie as the bad guy to the sympathetic Withered Bonnie. And if Toy Bonnie would have had this proud, attention-seeking disposition earlier, I could imagine more people seeing him as the bad guy. Gameplay-wise, Toy Bonnie's Ultimate Custom Night and Special Delivery appearances are nothing to write home about. In Ultimate Custom Night, he swings by the office and has to be warded off with a mask, again. In Special Delivery, he swings by your house and has to be warded off by the mask, again. Though in Ultimate Custom Night, Toy Bonnie also gets an appearance in Toy Chica's high school years as one of her crushes, before getting crushed, probably in Chica's basement, and having his ear stolen for her treasure bag. All in all, Toy Bonnie's shiny moment might have been in FNAF 2, and even then he was sort of cast into the shadows. Speaking of which, Shadow Bonnie, another character from FNAF 2, resembles Toy Bonnie. He's technically not a toy animatronic though, but instead another entity entirely. But it seemed worth bringing him up. Toy Chica is the next real toy animatronic and the third of the onstage band. A lean cut of meat compared to her earlier rounder versions, Toy Chica was eye-catching in unexpected ways, such as when she would rip off her own beak and stare at you through her hollow black eye sockets.
Isn't a good party just to die for?
Normally, though, Chica is a yellow chicken character with blue eyes and purple eyelids, an orange beak, orange feet, pink round cheeks, matching pink bottoms, a triangle speckled bib with "Let's Party" on it, and carries a pink cupcake with blue eyes. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. Toy Chica sorta got a reputation as the sexy chicken, one that was only exasperated when in Ultimate Custom Night and Special Delivery, she got voice lines such as this.
Let's go somewhere more private, so I can eat you.
With a tone like that, you might find Toy Chica sensual, and that's what she wants. She wants you to be curious, because then you'll get close enough for her to take you out. This threatening temptress is a homicidal maniac and doesn't seem to show any regret or remorse in killing. Such as in Toy Chica's high school years, which is non-canon of course, but definitely feels very true to character, in which Toy Chica falls in love with various other animatronics for specific features, and then goes through manipulative and insane means to catch them, kill them, and take whatever part attracted her to them as a trophy. When it comes to this depiction of her personality, Toy Chica could arguably be the most ruthless and aggressive toy animatronic, but gameplay-wise, she's not the most formidable. She sashays into the party room and climbs through a vent into the office where you ward her off with the Freddy mask. In Ultimate Custom Night, she slides into the office and once again you ward her off with the mask. And finally, FNAF Special Delivery breaks into your house, get to subdue her with the mask. See, this is the reason I didn't say I was going to cover gameplay that much, because I could go into the fine details of how every animatronic works slightly differently, but at the end of the day, I will continue repeating myself. Come into the office, put on a mask. But Toy Chica's danger level isn't what made her such a popular character, and because of that, she is still very well known. But not nearly as well known and beloved as Mangle. The Mangle, formerly known as Funtime Foxy, but not the one you're familiar with, is an unfortunate animatronic who began life as the newest Foxy stationed in the brand new Kids Cove, and ended it as a pile of rubble that children pull apart. Unwilling to continue putting Funtime Foxy back together again after the children kept ripping it apart, which seems almost impossible and kind of leaves up the interpretation that this is just another Fazbear Entertainment cover-up, the employees decided to make it into a take apart and put back together again attraction. The questionable safety of having kids tamper with metal robots going completely ignored, and leaving Mangle in a state of constant disrepair. In their completed form, Funtime Foxy was all white with a pink belly, muzzle, tip tail, and accents. And pink bottoms like Chica. They had red lips and cheeks, a matching bow tie, and yellow eyes. They even had a hook on their right hand, but no other pirate accents, no eye patch or anything. However, the Mangle is a much different beast once the events of FNAF 2 occur. A broken Foxy head with a blackened eye is mounted on an amalgam of endoskeleton limbs, mounted on a torso. A random hand, a random foot, a second head. Mangle is little more than a mound of pieces thrown together before calling it a day. They look dangerous. They are dangerous, but they're also tragic. Being stuffed in the back room would have probably been a more merciful fate than the day-in, day-out amputation and mutilation at the hands of multiple children. And you may notice me referring to Mangle as a them a lot. Mangle's gender has been both a point of contention and a running joke throughout the series, both referred to as a he and a she, usually in the same description. However, it was Fnaf AR that put a whole new spin on the argument with the reveal that both heads talk independently and together.
Well, hello there, stranger. Well, hello there, victim. You don't seem very happy to see us. Perhaps it was something we said.
There's two of them. Though Mangle's main head seems to be the dominant one, they refer to themselves as us and we, and finish each other's sentences. One of them is more optimistic than the other. I don't think the gender joke was intentionally set up to lead to this originally, but the idea that they're neither because they are literally two people is pretty clever. This also reveals their personality. Mangle is threatening but deluded, makes claims of how beautiful they are, and talking about how they became like this as though it's something to be proud of.
I don't regret the experiences that have led me to be the fox that I am.
And this is likely a coping mechanism to deal with the torment that they have been put through, as we know from one line that slips through.
This almost makes us yearn for the days of the Kids Cove. Never again. Never, never, ever, never.
Indeed, it seems like Mangle's ordeal at the hands of small children and apathetic adults has left them traumatized. Sometimes their frustration with their body comes through, though.
No! Not another piece! I must be made whole!
And in those moments, the whole ruse falls apart, just like Mangle does. But even though Mangle's broken form looks like it would only be barely responsive, somehow they are able to be a formidable foe, such as how they are able to somehow get up onto and climb along the ceiling, such as they do in FNAF 2, where they will use the vents, yes, but they will also crawl through the hallway on the ceiling and come up onto the office ceiling. When Mangle is in the vent, the right vent, you must put on the mask before they enter the office. Otherwise, they will crawl into the office, on the ceiling again, mind you, and swing in to chomp down on your frontal lobe. Weirdly enough, Mangle pretty much has a different gameplay style in every game they're featured in. In Ultimate Custom Night, they are one of the vent crawlers and must be stopped with a snare, or they'll go into the vent and just sit there until they get a chance to jump scare you. In Fnaf AR, you have to ward them off until they drop parts and then pick them up until they can be shocked. They have their own vent repair section in Help Wanted, one of the only two in the game, where you must do light puzzles to get the thermostat working as Mangle creeps closer down one of the vent shafts. But considering their appearance, personality, and roles in the mini-games they appear in, it's no shock that Mangle is an extremely popular character. I would say one of the most popular, which has led to many theories, such as the Mangle is Susie's deceased puppy theory, which has quickly gained traction. Personally, I don't subscribe to it because of the fact that Mangle can talk, but it goes to show that even nowadays, years after Mangle's introduction, they are still making rounds and theorizing. That's a sign of popularity if I've ever seen one. Balloon Boy is a different beast entirely. Balloon Boy is a notorious creature in the FNAF universe and community. The first animatronic to be more mischievous than murderous, and the first to be humanoid in the series. Balloon Boy is both loved and loathed and a very prominent part of the franchise. Balloon Boy is a short, rounded son with pink cheeks and triangle inset nose, with an open-mouth grin and blocky teeth, and big blue eyes. He has some molded-on brown hair and wears a reddish-pink and blue-striped shirt and propeller hat. He has dark blue pants and brown shoes and stubby arms ending with two rounded fists with holes in them to hold his balloon sign and a fake yellow and red striped balloon. While looking like a statue in FNAF 2, he is capable of moving just as easily as the others, crawling through the vents to make it into the office, and when he gets there, he steals your batteries. Which doesn't sound too bad until you realize that without that flashlight, you're basically a sitting duck. And this isn't the only time in the series he gets up to trouble. In Ultimate Custom Night, he nicks your flashlight for 10 seconds if the right vent isn't closed when he appears in it. Now 10 seconds might not sound too bad, but in certain challenges and with more animatronics in play, this can be a killer, literally. He appears in Special Delivery AR too, but acts mostly like the others, except that he's shorter and might sneak in if you're looking up too high. So for the most part, Balloon Boy is there to handicap you so that the other animatronics can get the jump on you. And he seems to love this, considering how often he can be heard echoing canned laughter. Balloon Boy doesn't say much, with only his laughing, a simple hello, and some balloon puffing and deflating noises in Fnaf AR.
Hi. Hello?
This makes Balloon Boy the first animatronic with a voice. Well, unless you count Foxy's pirate song, you know, the dum-dum-dum-dum-dum. He's at least the first animatronic to truly talk, even though, ironically, he has so few voice lines. Though something about the fact that he just gives a mocking hello and laughs and doesn't say anything else, it paints a picture. And all of this added together frames Balloon Boy as rather mischievous. However, this also gives Balloon Boy the reputation as FNAF's first gremlin, a little monster child stealing your batteries and laughing at your misfortune. The sort of kid who would sneak into your house while you're looking up too high and steal your remote just for giggles. Nobody likes Balloon Boy, but everyone loves him, in one way or another. There is also JJ, Balloon Boy's female counterpart. Featured as an Easter egg alone in FNAF 2, she later returned in bigger roles in other games, though most of them were as side characters in spin-offs, such as working with Foxy and Foxy Fighters. In that example, she even gets a non-canon voice.
Let's kick this party into high gear!
In the more mainline games, she works virtually the same as Balloon Boy. She's just his twin sister, one with pink eyes and blue and purple striped clothing. Now we get on to the final toy animatronic, the odd one out, the puppet, also referred to as Marionette. Surprisingly enough, the puppet is one of the most important characters in FNAF, and for a large portion of the early story was a major player in everything happening. FNAF 2 spells it all out in the minigames, but the puppet is the one who brought the original animatronics to life. That is the withered animatronics, haunting them with the spirits of the deceased children by either stuffing them into the suits or just putting their heads on the children. Though if it was the true stuffing, then that would explain both why the animatronics try to shove night guards into the suits, and why the haunted suits are very heavily hinted to have once had bodies hidden inside of them. It also led them to save more children, by trying to stop the murderer, only to be thwarted. This means the puppet actually predates the rest of the toy animatronic and ends up outliving them quite a bit, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Marionette is a puppet that resembles a cross between a mime and a sock monkey, though is more humanoid than either. It's black with white stripes on its lower arms and lower legs, and white buttons along its chest, and unlike the other toys, it lacks their plastic-like exterior for a felt sort of material and a porcelain mask. Its legs taper in the points and its arms end in 3 fingers. It has a wide smile that shows black felt beneath it, dark eyes that sometimes have lights in them, purple tear-stained stripes from its eyes, and pink-red round cheeks and lips, with some media depicting them more pink and more recently more red. The puppet sits in a large gift box in the prize corner, or prize counter, where a music box is playing to keep it dormant, playing the song My Grandfather Clock. If not kept wound, the puppet will awaken and leave its box, upon which the song Pop Goes the Weasel will play until it springs into the office and jump scares you. This music box mechanic continues over into Ultimate Custom Night as well, though it was moved to the kitchen to hang out with Chica. Sometimes the puppet will appear in hallucinations in the hallway, and there was, I believe, a model of it hanging on strings and a marionette cross that was maybe supposed to appear in the corner of the office. I might be misremembering that. The puppet is often depicted floating on its own accord, shown in Fnaf 3, Fnaf World, Minigames, spin-offs, merch. The only place it's shown walking is Help Wanted, where it has wiggly-wobbly legs. The puppet's bigger influence in Fnaf 2 is on those minigames where it is shown to lead the others after the Purple Man, assumedly, and is shown giving life to the animatronics. Needless to say, despite this being the second game in the series, it made their role dramatically more sizable than any other toys by making it have such a direct hand in the main plot. In fact, let's be completely honest, at that point there was pretty much 2 characters, the murderer and the puppet. The people we played as, Mike and Jeremy, had nothing else on them at that time. And while the other animatronics are all there trying to attack us, they were all kind of grouped together. Now, you might have noticed me calling it an it, and this is due to the fact that the puppet is actually listed as a male in Ultimate Custom Night, and is also one of Toy Chica's crushes, but has a female spirit possessing it. And yes, the confirmation the puppet was male came after the soul reveal. See, revealed in Fnaf 6, Pizzeria Simulator, the puppet is actually possessed by the daughter of Henry, a former business partner of William Afton. This is assumed to be Charlie Emily from the books, but her name is never given. One night she was crying outside Freddy's when William murdered her, and the security puppet, manned in a box inside of the restaurant, left the building following the signal from her security bracelet, flying in midair, mind you, and found its way to her where it collapsed beside her and she possessed it. So I have a theory that the puppet was not always supposed to be Charlie because this minigame linked to Charlie's death, shown in Fnaf 2 and Pizzeria Simulator and confirmed to be the same event, spelled out "save him" in Fnaf 2, implying the child was a boy at some point. I won't get into that right now, there's a time and a place for mucking around, but I do like bringing it up. I'm also not going to get into the novel trilogy's depiction of Charlie for 2 reasons. Firstly, because they're technically not the same character. They're versions of Charlie with completely different experiences and circumstances, and even completely different personalities. And secondly, Book Charlie is not the puppet, at any point, so it wouldn't really be necessary. But back to what I was saying about personalities. What is the puppet like? While the puppet has been largely mysterious, its voice lines in Ultimate Custom Night frame it to be protective of the other animatronics and likely children.
The others are under my protection.
Level-headed, as it states it simply wants the player to stay out of its way, which is very odd if we are supposed to be playing as Afton, but is also no longer afraid of him, is more aware of what's going on than the others, and is bad at similes.
Seeing you powerless is like music to me.
That's an "I wonder what the sounds smell like" line if I've ever heard one. And if anyone gets that reference, I'll be shocked. There's more to tell of the puppet story, but that comes after the disbanding of the toy band. And yes, alas, the new improved security bots simply did not last long. Why is that? Well, it was due to an incident often referred to as the dead children incident, or the deceased children incident. As depicted in the minigames, more children were taken and these ones were killed and then strewn around the pizzeria. What happened to the bodies? We don't know. What we do know is the following. It was done by someone using a yellow suit, i.e. William Afton got Bonbon out of the back room, lured kids back there and asked them a few questions. And after it happened, the animatronics, all of them, started acting strange. Whether this means that at some point those bodies were stuffed inside of them, or were just found and covered up later, we don't know. But that was the end of Freddy's. As Phone Guy says, they have one more birthday party and then the doors close for good. Most fans and headcanons believe that it was at this party that the bite of '87 occurred. And though that is very likely, in reality we know very little about the bite. Save what Phone Guy himself said.
They used to be allowed to walk around during the day, too. But then there was the bite of '87. Yeah. It's amazing that the human body can live without the frontal lobe.
But we do know the animatronics were acting up and that our character, Jeremy, was told to stay close to them, which means perfectly in biting range. So who did it? Well, if we're going by the toys, there's really only one option. The puppet does not have teeth, so no biting. Balloon Boy's mostly docile and short. Toy Freddy and Toy Bonnie, maybe, but the shape of their mouths mixed with the shape of the head and the plastic exterior, it would be hard to get a bite in. So firstly, there's Toy Chica. Toy Chica gets a line about lodging her teeth in your forehead in Ultimate Custom Night.
Where's my beak? Lodged in your forehead, of course.
However, I think this is just a reference to the bite. See, when Toy Chica attacks, she removes her beak, and without that beak, which has all of the same problems as Toy Freddy and Bonnie's mouths, her mouth underneath is largely flat. I don't think it's large enough to fit a head in either, so likely it couldn't be her. So I would say if the bite was performed by a toy animatronic, it was probably Mangle. Firstly, Mangle has the most impressive teeth and can open their jaw wide. In their jump scare, they even swing down and bite you. Secondly, they are out in the open in Kids Cove. The others would probably be on stage or walking through the dining room, but the hands-on attraction is always out in the open, around little kids. If a worker is supposed to be watching kids, they'd probably be keeping a close eye on Mangle. And thirdly, if it's going to be a toy animatronic, it makes more sense to not be just a random bandmate, but to be the broken one. The best evidence that it was a toy, however, is the fact that after this supposed event, the toys were totally retired. In contrast, the Withereds, though broken, laid abandoned in the back room and were even brought back after the fact to form the classics. The toys had to be expensive, and Fazbear Entertainment, while wasteful, do value their money. So it seems like there must have been something bigger that made them retire the band, such as if one of them bit a patron or worker in front of a bunch of witnesses. The only way to not have that publicity lingering is never show the band to the public again. And assumedly they didn't, because by FNAF 3, some years later, all that's left is an old box filled with their hollowed out plating, and a limb off of Foxy. Fazbear Fright's horror attraction is a sort of haunted house based off of the rumors of the old Freddy's years before FNAF 3. It has been stocked with numerous remains of Freddy's memorabilia, including parts left over from animatronics, some even repurposed into lamps, and a whopping one functional animatronic. A moldy rabbit known as Springtrap, who is William Afton's undead form trapped forever in a suit. A fate that would be worse than death if William Afton wasn't William Afton. The box of toy leftovers is a prop left in the office. In the box we can see the hollowed heads of Toy Freddy, Chica, Bonnie, Balloon Boy, and Mangle, along with a paper pal, Foxy's hooked arm, some limbs, and Toy Bonnie's guitar. The gang's all here, looking as close to a pile of skulls as animatronic parts can. But someone's missing. The puppet. But the puppet is here. In one of the hallways, you can see a mounted puppet mask on the wall, but that's not the puppet. The puppet actually appears as an Easter egg in this hallway, and we know it's the real deal due to the reflection of its legs. What is it doing here? Well, likely still hunting Afton. As it turns out, those souls are still stuck in limbo, and now the minigames in FNAF 3 feature the Toy Animatronics, possibly suggesting that they were haunted, or perhaps were haunted after the incident at their restaurant. These minigames are Chica's Party, where Toy Chica delivers cupcakes to kids, BB's Balloon Adventure, where he goes on he kind of just walks around a little bit, and Mangle's Quest. All three minigames have secret areas where you can find shadow creatures and the ghosts of crying children, and dark reflections of the animatronics. It all signals that something is off with the toys, but considering that they are now just a box of discarded parts, likely whatever was in them has now moved elsewhere, such as into the arcade cabinets. Balloon Boy and the puppet also appear as phantoms, a ghostly apparition that can jump scare the player and mess up their systems, but cannot kill them. Balloon Boy hangs out until you look at him and then jump scares, while the puppet will sit directly in front of your face and beep loudly for a while. Like I said, the only real animatronic is Springtrap. And naturally, because of this, someone sets the place on fire at the end of the game, burning up all of the leftover props and pieces, melting the arcade cabinets, and erasing what was assumedly the last remains of the toys. Well, except for one. And there was a few more appearances before that one went down too. The toys made an appearance in toy form in FNAF 4 as the crying child sees a girl with dolls of them. Now, considering that these were initially used as hints by Scott that were supposed to solve the lore, when FNAF 4 was the final game, I'll just say that I think the meaning of them being a final puzzle piece was sort of lost to time, though I do think this gives a pretty good piece of evidence that the toys, the brand new animatronics, were around somehow at the same time as the diner featured in that game. Balloon Boy, Mangle, and the puppet all get new forms in Nightmare Balloon Boy, Nightmare Mangle, and the Nightmarian. I did a whole Nightmare video and I covered all of them. The Nightmares are pretty different from their toy counterparts, so they're not important right now. The next game they appeared in was FNAF World. FNAF World is a spin-off light RPG where you play as the various animatronics traveling across the world and dipping through the code to figure out what's going on. Shockingly enough, due to this game's secret ending, this is actually canon and happens during FNAF 3. You can play as all of the toys in the game, but as to not bog down the video, I'll be brief. Toy Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Mangle are starting characters and reflect as much. Toy Freddy does damage but also has a weak heal and can do a speed boost. Toy Bonnie is a straight-on attacker who can damage all enemies, lay traps, and has the ability to pull a random basic attack with a prize ball. Toy Chica is a healer who also has a move that has a chance to kill low-level enemies, called Water Hose. Mangle is the only one who had an impact on the greater scope of the game due to teasers involving them. First seen with a paddle ball in a teaser, and then after FNAF World got some flack for being too childish, was shown in a dark teaser hanging with their own paddle ball string with the line, "See what you've all done," underneath. Though if you look closely, the ball is in their mouth. In-game, Mangle is a primary attacker who can hook without a hook, throw trap poppers, and use the prize ball to pull a random move. Balloon Boy is the next tier, and often he is the one I unlock first or second. He has two moves that deal damage over time, and one that will hit random enemies 3 times with random damage. Notably, quite a few enemies and bosses are based off of Balloon Boy. This is JJ's first time as her own thing. She has similar moves to Balloon Boy, save one known as Unscrew that has a low chance of instantly killing an enemy. JJ also appears in the Foxy Fighters minigame, like I mentioned earlier. The puppet, addressed as Marionette here, is another second-tier character. It has a stronger prize ball that can pull better moves, a move called Escape Key that has a low chance of killing all enemies, and a special move called Mystery Box that randomly replaces the whole band with a completely different one. Completed Mangle, or Funtime Foxy, appears here for the first time as one of the best characters, or one of the strongest. With a better heal, gift boxes, a move that gives everyone an extra life or brings them back from the grave, and Cosmic Song, a powerful move that hits all the enemies. All in all, a good showing, and the first of many times the toys appeared despite their short lifespans. The toys do not appear in sister location, though Bon Bon, Funtime Freddy's hand puppet, resembles Toy Bonnie quite a bit. Funtime Foxy also appears, but instead of the softer toy-like form, this one is specifically a Funtime model with chrome plating and advanced directives for distraction and misleading. Plus, in Ultimate Custom Night, Funtime Foxy gets a voice and personality, and both are starkly different from Mangle's.
A performance was demanded of me, and now I have delivered. Encore!
In the fourth closet, Mangle and Funtime Foxy are the same animatronic, but it's more like Mangle is disguised as Funtime Foxy. Plus, the books condense the Funtimes, with Bon Bon being absent from Freddy's arm and Ballora not appearing at all. Pizzeria Simulator is where, like I said earlier, the whole situation with the puppet's identity is spilled forth into our laps. This also means that the puppet survived a FNAF 3 fire, but alas, not for long. At some point in between the two games, an animatronic bear, or perhaps a bear trap, was created to lure the puppet in and contain it inside, as to hold it for Henry's plan to burn the whole place down with everyone and everything left inside. Because that worked so well last time, am I right? Trapped in Lefty, the puppet assumedly burned in the fire, and that was the end of it. Though, notably, peculiarly, Lefty is not shown burning in the fire. But that was the end of the final toy. But not the series, of course. I covered the toys' appearances in Ultimate Custom Night and Fnaf AR for the most part, so I won't do that again. But one thing I didn't cover were the skins in Fnaf AR. The Toy Animatronics got a plethora of skins. Toy Freddy got Aeronaut Toy Freddy, a steampunk-clad bear with goggles and a long coat, Woodland Toy Freddy, a tree teddy with a long walking stick, and VR Toy Freddy, a glowing purple Toy Freddy wearing a VR mask, who had an alternate form that's a yellow-orange, with glowing green eyes, with cracks coming from them. Then there's Toy Bonnie, who had 3 skins in the mossy stone statue that is Boulder Toy Bonnie, the barnacle-covered and opalescent-eyed sunken Toy Bonnie, and the burning red glitchy system error Toy Bonnie. Toy Chica has 2 skins, the Day of the Dead-themed Katrina Toy Chica, decked out with flowers and a flowing dress, and the blue virtual high-score Toy Chica, who has an alternate game over design with red accents and eyes. For Mangle, there is the telekinetic magician Mangle, fit with a spiffy top hat and saw, rabbit ears on the second head, and covered in cards, cuffs, and surrounded by floating knives. Then there's the Aztec-inspired serpent Mangle, with the golden-green color scheme, a flowery petal collar, and a tiny moon in its hand. Balloon Boy has a haul of little gremlin skins too, such as a hauntingly hollow hunk of mud that is Swamp Balloon Boy, fit with an appropriate rot sign. The icy and sharp in all the wrong places Frostbite Balloon Boy, fit with an avalanche shine and a jagged club, and Jetpack Balloon Boy, who is in another steampunk getup with a hot air balloon-like balloon and a Let's Fly sign. The puppet did not appear in Fnaf AR, but Lefty was supposed to, almost entirely finished before not making it in past the finish line. This aside, I do find it peculiar that the puppet didn't have an appearance in the game, but that could have maybe been because of Lefty. In Help Wanted, there is a remake of FNAF 2 where we can see the toy animatronics moving around, such as the puppet's wobbly legs and Toy Freddy's hum-de-dum stroll. I covered this too while describing the characters, and the only thing I left out worth mentioning is the Build-A-Mangle level introduced in the DLC Curse of Dreadbear, where you are propositioned to gather animatronic limbs out of the trash before they get dumped into a furnace and piece together your own mangle as aligned with Fazbear Entertainment's orders. There's something disturbing about Fazbear Entertainment's capitalization on this suffering animatronic that was a tribute to their own shortcomings, laziness, and dangerous methods of running their business. It's gross even for them, really. But the continuing mishandling of Mangle aside, Help Wanted was a pretty good showing for the toys. Especially them, as they often appear without the others, giving them a bigger presence even when they're tiny roles. Help Wanted 2 even had the group featured in one of the Phaser Blast courses, the FNAF 2 inspired one of course, where you can see the toys appear in cutouts and balloon figures. Security Breach had plenty of cameos to various animatronics on their arcade machines and in their decorations, in some merch, and the puppet's mask even appears on the ensnared suffering-infused mask known as the Blob or Tangle or whatever. Even the staff bot seemed to take some design inspiration from the puppet, save no mouths. I have no mouth and I am not paid to scream. Mangle's head can also be found as a metal meatball on top of the blob spaghetti. Also, Balloon Boy even features in a secret minigame known as Balloon World, where he floats along through the sky dodging bats while the sun and moon watch. Why this minigame is so important is because other than the Princess Quest ones, this is the only secret one in the game. And that pretty much wraps up the game appearances, save some cameos of them in parody games such as in the Freddy in Space trilogy and Fury's Rage. So let's move on to the books. So, when it comes to book appearances, the Toy Animatronics are sort of on the shallow end of the pool, including the puppet. Think of it like this. The puppet is revealed in the games to be a book character, and yet the puppet itself is delegated to only a couple of sparse mentions and one bonus story. The others don't fare much better either. In fact, come to think of it, the others fare much worse, except for Mangle and Balloon Boy. Back to the puppet. It appears in the story You're the Band, which is technically the last story of Fazbear Frights, but supposedly cut from the lineup, during which a boy is possessed by a Freddy mask, and his mother, and a mysterious Mike, must sort of team up to save him. They go to the pizzeria, the animatronics attack, the puppet slinks in, and the mask is returned and the day is saved. As briefly as I'm glossing over this, the puppet acts very game in character in this story. In fact, this story is very much like the games. They also appear in one of the epilogues where... Okay, let me try to make this fast. Afton returns as a giant trash rabbit and a detective is trying to stop him. Earlier he found something and now it's revealed that what he found was the puppet and that it's wailing in numerous voices and telepathically tells him, "Take me to him." So the detective runs into Afton with a forklift and the puppet gets slurped into him and then he kind of falls into a lake and dies. I mean, kudos in the puppet waking up, barely touching Afton, and the fight just immediately being over. And peculiar that the book refers to the puppet as having numerous voices. Maybe I read that wrong. But, well, that's it. That's the entire appearance. Mangle, like I said, appears as Funtime Foxy in the fourth closet. Disguised as Sister Location's Funtime Foxy, it breaks itself up into its mangled form both to gather the kidnapped children and to chase Jessica, but ends up getting even more mangled in the net of a ball pit. And later turns on Afton when the ghost children realize who he really is. Funtime Foxy proceeds to make an appearance in a Fazbear Frights cameo as a taxi driver in a dream sequence, but that is Mangle's only book role. Balloon Boy appears in the Twisted Ones when Charlie ends up hallucinating a swarm of Balloon Boys due to the illusion discs, but they're not real. His bigger role is as Lucky Boy in the Fazbear Fright story, Sergio's Lucky Day. Despite not being called Balloon Boy, he's described to look exactly like him. Basically, Sergio finds the Lucky Boy and starts asking it for advice. Going off of Lucky Boy's suggestions, he wins the lottery, buys a car, has it stolen, buys a truck, buys a house, ditches his girlfriend, who makes him unhappy, puts himself on the market, etc. But Sergio starts to get a little too reliant on Lucky Boy, which is unfortunate because Lucky Boy decides to suddenly give really bad advice and tells him to mutilate and cut off a bunch of his face. Needless to say, he makes a splash at his reunion. Balloon Boy is also mentioned in the Choose Your Own Adventure book VIP, where a Balloon Boy statue dispenses balloons and a few points. Makes you wonder if that's how the original Balloon Boy sort of worked, if he was just a statue to greet guests, or if he actually blew up balloons. Since Fnaf AR has so much huffing and puffing, it certainly sounds like he was capable of doing so. And since I want to reach my Monty mention quota, if you go into the Monty maze attraction with a balloon from the statue, he will immediately find you, pop your balloon, and escort you out. Even when he's not doing anything, Balloon Boy is still finding a way to screw you over. I think that covers the book appearances. One more thing I have to cover on the Toy Animatronics, ironically, is their merch situation. So the toys have a good amount of merch, but weirdly enough, they never got action figures. And weirder still, after Fnaf AR, they did get action figures for some of their skins from in the game, but not the normal builds. So we have System Error Toy Bonnie and High Score Toy Chica, but not normal Toy Bonnie and normal Toy Chica. I always found that odd. But maybe it'll be rectified with the second movie. And oh yes, the second movie. So this is normally where I go, will we see the toy animatronics again? And in this case, we have a pretty clear yes in the form of the second Five Nights at Freddy's movie that comes out December of next year. The movie, codenamed Music Box, involves, assumedly, Mike Schmidt and the toy animatronics. That's all we really know, but this is a huge deal. Not every animatronic gets to feature in a movie, let alone star as the main attraction. So that'll be something. Heck, Balloon Boy himself already got a brief cameo in the first movie, as a hideous little figure, but still. As for the toys in-game, their spotlight was short. Well, as long as we don't count the puppet. Their biggest contribution was in one game, but they reappeared as backup characters, and still do. These guys are consistent, and surely their upcoming movie appearance will make them even more popular. That's pretty good for a security system that failed spectacularly, leading to the deaths of multiple children and possibly biting off the frontal lobe of one poor schmuck. But did the toys deserve better than that? Well, it's sort of funny. They've done well, compared to many FNAF characters who had much less, some bands not even featuring in their game, some characters only appearing once or twice. The toy animatronics have been up front and present, well characterized, and are adored because of it. But comparing everyone else to the puppet, on the other hand, is an entirely different story. You can see who went off to have their own successful solo career. But I don't think that detracts from the toys. More so, it makes you occasionally forget that at one point they were all in the same squad. Heck, even Balloon Boy started to somewhat separate from the toys, often appearing without them. In Fnaf AR, he was one of the initially released animatronics. The other toys didn't arrive until later. Not to mention that movie cameo, and not to mention that the second movie is codenamed Music Box, likely thrusting the puppet into center stage once more. The toys have done well. They don't necessarily deserve better. So yeah, these two still talk about them in interviews, talking about how they got started. But time will tell what the FNAF 2 movie will bring to these characters. Will Toy Freddy have a new personality? Will Mangle's dual characterization be expanded upon? Will we finally find out the truth about the bite of 87, and who might have done it? And will the puppet and Balloon Boy steal the spotlight yet again? Well, maybe. I'm about 50% sure that some of these will be answered. Yes, no, maybe so, we'll just have to see. But I think that's where we end things today. Thank you for watching.